What is going on, comic fam? It's your boy, the Bearded Comic Bro, and I am joined by comic creator Adam Barnhardt. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Super stoked to be here.
I am excited for you. I see a fellow beard.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm working. This is all year. This has been the whole pandemic, and that's all it's grown. So,
This has been like all 2 weeks. So, man, you have a Kickstarter coming up, or that actually not coming up, but we're in the midst of this Kickstarter right now.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Kickstarter. We're going to talk about a book that you got with Scout that kind of ties into it and things like that. But before we do, I just want to know, I always like to start these interviews off. How did you get into liking comics? Like, how did you get into reading comics or collecting comics?
My whole family's collected stuff my entire life. My dad's been into comics, cards, beer cans, all sorts of stuff. And he actually, um, growing up, he tried gifting me his collect. I always tell this anecdote, but he tried gifting me his collection, and it was right around a very formative time where I was trying to focus more on a social life and ladies and all of that stuff. And I'm like, maybe just hold on to your collection. And now I shoot myself in the foot because it has the 181. It has all sorts of nice Cap stuff, all sorts of Hulk stuff, all sorts of Captain Marvel Volume One, all sorts of stuff I want now that he won't bother giving me.
No, he's like, you had your shot.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he
Adam.
says, you know what, screw you, man. So now we have competing collections. But no, I've just been kind of at least comics adjacent for forever. I mean, my dad's had comics his entire life, or my entire life, I should say. So I've always had kind of a slight interest in reading them and thumbing through the pictures and taking that 181 out of the bag because I didn't know what kind of value it had 30 years ago, yeah, man.
I mean, but
Cool.
isn't that honest? Like, how often of like stories that get like, I can tell you, I read the Batman Adventures issue number 12 with the Harley, first appearance of Harley Quinn. I read that thing through and through. Cover fell off. I don't even own the book anymore. Same thing with like Batman 423, the Todd McFarlane cover. I can tell you the exact story. But like, man, when we were kids, we were reading just because like, oh, this looks cool. Like, let's read it. And then like now we're looking like,
maybe I should have turned this page a little easier or something,
Maybe I should have not eaten Cheetos before I touched this book. Oh
exactly.
Man.
This
So
it's it's like a 9.8 with Dorito Cool Ranch stains, but whatever.
it works. Well, that's cool because it's sometimes you hear the stories of people who are collectors. They try and pass it on to their kids, and kids are like, nah, and like so. It's interesting to hear just different stories. So, how did this then, your love for comics and collecting, translate then into creating comic books?
That's a really good question. I write professionally by day. I'm an entertainment journalist, and that kind of led to it. I know I've wanted to get into telling stories and stuff, and I've kind of dabbled in prose a little bit, but it takes so damn long to actually get like a novel. Who would have thunk writing 2,000 pages took a while?
Right.
And I've dabbled in screenplays and things of that nature, and it just so happened that the comic script I came up with, it landed. It stuck first, at least. I mean, I still have an interest in screenwriting and writing prose, of course. And I still do that on the side whenever I can, as time allows. But it just so happened that this one idea kind of made sense in comics. It is pretty adult. I mean, at the time when even I was developing it, Invincible wasn't on Amazon, so it was kind of hesitant. I'm like, well, I don't think anyone would ever pick up an R-rated cartoon or something like
Yeah.
that, which apparently now they will. So that's good. But no, it's just this one idea. I think it fit the medium the best.
Okay.
And someone else believed in it and picked it up, and we rolled with it, and now we're here continuing to flesh it out as much as we can.
So let's talk then. Let's talk about your first foray into comics, your first comic book. You kind of beat around the bush. What is it and what's it about?
And so I'm always hesitant. I almost dropped it? Can I just say the
You're allowed
title,
to.
or
You're
am I
allowed
allowed
to.
to?
Yes.
Okay.
I always want to tell creators you can just say what you want to say on the
All
show
right.
because
All
it's
right. So the book is called Shit Show, and as that word's part of my vocabulary, and watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they said shit like 10 times an episode, and I never picked it up, but it was a big thing on Twitter because they're like, wow, the Falcon and Winter Soldier swears so much. I'm like, Bucky never said the F bomb or something. They're like, well, he said shit a million times. I'm like, oh, I sometimes forget shit's an actual
like I
curse
wrote a
word.
book called that.
Yeah. So I kind of lost my train of thought. Where do we
How did this? What is this book about?
right. So my kind of elevator pitch, or my X meets Y, is Shameless meets the boys. I was actually watching an episode of Shameless one day, and I'm like, it would be nuts if Frank Gallagher had superpowers. Just this drunkard stumbling down the street. I'm like, what happened? I mean, imagine if he had superpower. He's not. I mean, with Frank, he is a pretty bad guy. But I'm like, let's tone that down a little bit. My guilty pleasure is bad Superman stories. It's a trope that's beaten to death, but I enjoyed Brightburn. I mean, Homelander's the best villain probably ever created. Homelander's just amazing. Um, so I wanted to do that, but I didn't want to do bad Superman. So
Mhm.
so we made this character. His name's Richard McCoy, the superhero formerly known as Legend, and he's a good guy. He's a good-hearted guy. He's not bad or evil or anything like that. He's just down on his luck because people put him on a high pedestal like they would Clark Kent or something like that, and he couldn't defeat the threat that kind of messed everything up. Not even kind of messed everything up. The threat that did mess everything up, and kind of destroyed superpowered humans as we know it. So the story is on Richard McCoy, and it picks up when he's gone down his spiral. He's not in the midst of his spiral. He's certainly at the bottom of his spiral. And the very first page of the whole show is him drunkenly pissing on the side of a circus tent and falling down and hitting his head on his rock and passing out. So the story kind of goes, there once was heroes. A three-headed demon came to Earth, and there's no longer heroes. And the story kind of follows that aspect of it. The only heroes that remained formed a traveling circus, the Magnificent McCoys, and that's kind of a nutshell. It does pick up it. I like dual arc kind of stories
Okay.
throughout. It does decrease as our three issues go along in volume one, but it does do past and present, so you can see how Rich became who he is. But then it also picks up from Rich of where he is and moves it forward to further the narrative in the present timeline, I guess you could say.
Nice. Yeah, it's so is it only 3 issues the first arc?
First arc's only 3 issues.
Okay.
I have much more planned. I don't know how often we'll or how long we'll go. I wherever the wind takes us. First arc's 3 issues. Each arc deals with a different kind of villain of the arc. Each volume is a different story or a
Okay.
different villain or antagonist, because it's just a nice little self-contained. There is an overarching um, overarching themes between volume to volume to volume, so you can see. This one might have focused on Richard McCoy, whereas Volume 2 features or focuses on our character named Ash, and he's fire-based powers, smoke-based powers. Um, so they do evolve from volume to volume, but each volume is a self-contained story. And you could probably pick it up, say if you jump on in volume 4 in the year 2060 or whatever we get around to releasing it. You should be able to read it just fine, and then the other volumes will be kind of like an added benefit of sorts.
Nice. I like the kind of continuity, but also like contained if you want to hop in and
Mhm.
So that makes it, which kind of makes sense leading into then the Kickstarter that we wanted to talk about that is
Mhm.
going on right now. Let's dig into that a little bit. What is this Kickstarter?
So the Kickstarter it's called SH TSHOW Shorts, and we are labeling it number one because we are planning this to be a series of sorts. So number one, if you picked up number one, you'll notice there's a backup story, and they're called Killer Bears from Outer Space. And we had intended to do a backup story with each issue, but as we started writing these backup stories and evolving them, we're like, man, we're getting kind of carried away with ideas and stuff, and suddenly we had too many stories and not enough issues to throw them in as backups. So then we're like, oh, we'll just do this not Elseworlds, but separate title technically, and collect them all in there. And that's the thing about the shit show world. It is a world, and at one time there were hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of powered beings. So this is the purpose of the short story, and hopefully, as we tell more and more of these short stories, that in turn kind of adds to Rich's downfall a little bit, because you're seeing all these characters and all these worlds um, um, that he lost,
Mm.
and that he felt like it was his duty to protect, except they all went bye bye. They may have died, they may not have. I don't want to spoil you guys too much,
Right.
of course, but yeah, they were around, and they're no longer are. Some are, but 99% of them are.
Well, I love that you mentioned the Attack of the Killer Bears
Mm-hmm.
because it ends and it's like it says like we'll return, and I was like, wait, is this a book from Scout that I missed? Like I'm like on their website like trying to find this. I'm like, did I miss this series already?
It's coming. I'll tell you that much. It's coming, and it's super delightful. I've teased it some on my social media profiles and stuff, but we're working on it. It is I think it is going to end up being a separate title, because I
Okay.
always get carried away with stuff, and I kept writing this and writing this, and I'm like, man, I kind of made a world within a world a little bit. So we are kind of branching it off now, but those furry little um bears will return. I'm trying to be careful with what I say. I don't want to reveal the title of it too,
No,
or anything like that.
completely understand.
But it's coming. It's on its way. We have a good chunk of line art done. I, I always want to show it off. I feel like pulling up one of the pages right now, um, and showing you. It's on its way. I
All
promise
right,
it's on its way.
it's on its way.
Yeah,
Don't do anything you don't want to do. It's on its way.
right, right. It's on its way.
This teased the people enough. If you're intrigued, make sure you go read.
And that book's so delightful. I love cosmic type stories, cosmic Marvel stuff. I can't
Yeah,
see it. See, this is like all pretty much cosmic stuff. All the Guardians of the Galaxy issues, and Annihilus is down there, and all sorts of stuff. So the cosmic type stories are what I like, and this is full on cosmic, man. It's Care Bears plus it's Rob Liefeld's Care Bears mixed with the Green Lantern Corps and punk rock, and all sorts of other crazy stuff.
it sounds beautiful. It sounds glorious, is what it
Right.
sounds.
So I'm having a jolly good time with it, and I hope most people do too.
Now I tried to look into your shelf as you were pointing back to your,
Mhm.
cosmic shelf. Do I see the baby from Dinosaurs back there?
That is Baby Sinclair, yeah, right there. That is Baby Sinclair. That was a splurge. I found it, and it actually has a drawstring. I would go great. It's broke, so you kind of have to slow the drawstring back in, but it cycles through. Not the mama, you gotta love me, all sorts of that stuff. So that's my grabbing a fire possession in it. Where some gargoyles action figures are back there. If you
Ooh,
can see
yeah.
gargoyles, Mooncake from Final Space, one of my favorite shows. So
Yeah, man, that's the best thing about Disney Plus, getting to rewatch
there's
the
so much.
Gargoyles.
It holds up so damn well too, man.
So good.
We could talk about that for days. That's
We're
that's my favorite franchise of all
so gang, if you want to hear me and Adam do an
time.
episode on this channel just talking
Yes,
about gargoyles,
gargoyles.
let us know because we can make that happen.
Hmm. It's so good. It holds up excellent too, man. It's crazy, but
So, well, let's bring it back to then the Kickstarter. If someone's
Mhm.
new, kind of to this universe that they've created, can they hop in on, this Kickstarter? What are some
Absolutely.
tiers that work out really well
Absolutely.
for them?
So it is it's my very first Kickstarter. It's our team's very first Kickstarter, so it is pretty simple. We do have four different variants. Dave Rubin, he did Ether with Matt Kent. He did Sherlock Frankenstein, Black Hammer. He has a cover. Hermaine Torres did a really cool cover with our funky one-eyed character. Samir Samao has a cover, the main artist on Shit Show Volume One, and then Juan Angel. Juan's one of my favorite collaborators in all of comics. He does these photorealistic portraits. He did an exclusive with Izzy's Comics, a retailer. He's done a couple of others, and all four of the covers are just crazy. So you can either get one of the covers, all four of the covers, and then, or you can get one cover and all four of the covers with a catch-up thing, which includes a floppy of all three Volume One issues. So if you already have all three Volume One issues, you can get the one cover or all cover packs. Or if you're
Hmm.
entirely new to everything, you can get whatever you want. All four covers plus the Shit Show Volume One, or just the
Nice.
short plus Shit Show Volume One. So there's totally enough different combinations of sorts to make sure you're all caught up. But outside of that, we didn't really do. There's some stretch goal type stuff with stickers and stuff, but
Yep.
we didn't add enamel pins as a different pack or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Pretty simple.
So, is this same creative team that does art and lettering, or is this kind of mixed of?
There, so in Shit Show Shorts number one, there are four different stories by four different creative teams. Samir did do that cover I said, but all the interior artwork is done by all sorts of different artists.
Okay.
Um, just to differentiate it a little
Yeah.
bit with the stories and stuff. One of the art teams I'm working on that is doing the bear story with me.
Nice.
So that will be revealed in due time. But the team that does the story involving our version of Lucifer
Okay.
is the one that's working on the bear story with me, and yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Nice. So definitely, if you're watching the show, and I mean, and if Shameless didn't get you right off the bat, like like with
Right.
superpowers, I don't know what will. But man, like as soon as you said that, I was like, because I've read issues 1, 2, and 3, and I was like, I see it now. Like I see Frank, and I'm never gonna be able to see it differently now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that's where it came from, man, and it slowly evolved. First came legend, then came the idea of the circus. I'm like, well, if he becomes a drunk, why does he become a drunk? Well, he became a drunk because the world pretty much ended as he knew it.
Mm.
So what's he gonna do? Frank Gallagher would totally sell himself. He'd sell his own body for money, right? Why not? So that's where the circus came from. And circuses are so fun but spooky. I always say that there's always like a speaker that's broken or hanging off the hinge, and the speaker doesn't work right, and it's crackling and popping this music that's supposed to be funny, but it's spooky and scary. And then you look at the Ferris wheel, and the Ferris wheel's paint's the paint's chipping, and it's run by someone who's either hopped up on something or drunk themselves or something like that. You're supposed to have fun, but so much could go so wrong
Right?
so quick. So that's kind of the purpose of the circus added into the whole thing.
Yeah, I can't do circuses and things like it. If those rides are pop ups and teardowns, I'm like, nah, I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not trusting it, man.
So it's interesting that like even that idea is just kind of another element that you wanted in to just to bring to the story, which is just such a cool, unique story, which I think people that definitely need to check out. So how did this creative team kind of come together? Is this, you had this idea for this script? Is this something that you wrote and then you kind of got the team together? Is this something that you collabed? How, getting connected with Scout for these first couple issues? How did that kind of, what was that
I
process?
I found everyone through social media. Actually, I found Samir through Facebook, and we were working on it. And we had some line art pages done, and we worked through some people doing colors, and I found Warney as our colorist on volume one. I think I found her. I saw she colored a cover on Instagram or something, she did a cover of Wasted Space from Vault
Okay.
on Instagram. I'm like, wow, those colors really pop. So I reached out to Warney through Instagram, and I think I tweeted something about the letters, and Letter Squids popped up, and Letter Squids, man, he elevates the stuff. He adds so much to the comics. He does. I feel guilty about like promoting myself for like a Ringo or some sort of award, but Letter Squids, every single project he does, man, it just elevates it to another level. He was perfect for Shit Show. He does all sorts of. I think he does Frank at Home at the Farm.
Mm,
Um, he does all sorts of stuff. He's
yeah.
busy, but Letter Squids, man.
Yeah.
It is killer work. So I met them all through social media.
Okay.
Um, and I think they're all coming back for more at some point or another, at least.
So did you have this? Did you have this kind of created before you went to scout with us, or?
Yeah, this was just a normal old pitch. I had pitched one comic before this, and that just fizzled out. We were talking with the publisher, and it just wasn't a right fit. So that project kind of went by the wayside. I have some of those issues somewhere that I'll surface, put online someday maybe, but I'll read
Nice.
them. Then no, yeah, we just put together a normal pitch packet for Scout, and we did the 6 first pages and sent it out, and they said they liked it. And we didn't need to go any further. Scout was the very first email we sent for this. We did do a follow-up one to kind of a one of the bigger indie publishers. It was kind of, what do you call it, a Hail Mary type situation.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting anything from. But no, Scout was on board, and they've been, Scout's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good stuff about Scout. They announced something today, and it's one of my favorite ideas they've ever done. Have you seen like the battle damage box idea they had? They're well, they do subscription boxes, right? They do the
Yep.
monthly box, but
Yeah,
now
yeah.
they're
Because
doing,
I've gotten it since the get go last summer
right.
during quarantine. So
It's my favorite thing, and I'm not saying that just because I want them to pick up all my stuff, but I have boxes over there too. But the battle damage one, they're taking the, what do you want to call them, the damaged books from shipping or whatever, and they're putting them in the battle damage box and then selling that for like a cheaper price or
nice.
something like that. And they do that type of stuff, and it just sets them apart from everyone else, because everyone's gonna, I mean, you could still read the books. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't want a 9.8 or you don't want to get it graded or something, why not pick up these reader copies and read the damn comics?
Yeah. I think that's a great idea because you're right. Like if you want to collect it, you want those 9.8s, you can find a way to get it if you want that for sure. And I mean, we're all collectors, so yeah, we want pristine as much as we
Right.
can. However, there is a point too where you just want to read it, and some of these stories you just need. So if they're just gonna, kind of, no one's gonna, they can't sell it because it's battle damage. I love that too, battle damage.
It's perfect. It's perfect. The box design's amazing, and I instantly text the Scout guys. I'm like, man, I'm so jealous. This wasn't like one of my ideas. It's just so brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like, why not? I love reading physical copies. I have Marvel Unlimited, and I do read
Yep.
digital for work and stuff and all that stuff. But I mean, at some point, it's not really practical to be buying all this stuff. If something gets optioned,
Yeah.
and you don't have number one, it's like, man, I don't really want to shell out $100 on a number one just to read it. Give me something with the cover bent or something. I just want to read it. I just want to hold it in my hands and read it.
Yeah.
So,
and it's a cheaper way to just read more if you want, because I mean, geez, it's smart. So I like the creativeness of that, and I like what the talent that they're bringing onto it, and you get these stories like that you've curated, and I just think it's really smart. And so yeah, I mean, I feel like anytime someone from Scott's like, yeah, absolutely, come on my show, like we'll talk.
right. No, and that's I mean, I knew they were collector focused. So Scout was brought to my attention because I loved the Electric Black before that. I think by the time I submitted that, there were 2 or 3 issues out, maybe. Like, this is such a good book. I love it. It was one of my favorite books. I'm like, you know what? Let's pitch it to the Scout. This is kind of adulty like the Electric Black. So I have Joe and Rich to thank for at least giving me the awareness of
Yeah.
Scout or something. And then I landed Rich did a variant cover for Shit Show Volume 1, which is I'm gonna get I haven't gotten one yet, but right back there somewhere is gonna be a huge movie size I call it the butt cover. It's the Scout Comics web store exclusive. You guys can go see it, but it's just Richard McCoy with his butt cheeks out because he's pissing on another wall. But Rich did the best work on that, man. He came to me with the idea and knocked it out of the park. He even snuck in a Pixies reference. Pixies, my favorite band of all time. And yeah, it's Rich's good people, Joe's good people, and
Yeah.
Electric Black is very, 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 very good.
Yeah. And all these links, so the links to the Kickstarter, the links to Scout to check out the books, and or listen in the description of this video. Adam, I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I already kind of got you to tease some stuff that you're working on. Is there anything else kind of going on in your world of comics that you want to talk about, or just like right now, let's just focus in on the Kickstarter and the project that you mentioned earlier?
Focus it on the Kickstarter. By the time this comes out, I think we'll be right around 1 week left. So I encourage you to check it out.
Yep.
If you don't want to get in on the Kickstarter, everything's on the Scout website. We have digital copies, we have physical copies, we have variants. Welcome to the Shit Show shirts, masks, all sorts of that good stuff. But no, just keep on keeping on and keep reading comics. My second book, I probably can say it's with Scout, is my second book's with Scout, which is the Bears and stuff, and I don't know when that's going to be. I hope to do like at least an announcement sometime soon.
Nice.
But yeah, just at Adam Barnhardt on all my social, and yeah, keep reading comics, man. Keep create, tell a story, write like a couple sentences or something each day on a Facebook post or something, creating and making the creative juices flow is very rewarding and therapeutic, at least to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's therapeutic to you. It might piss you off and ruin your day, but
no, I mean, as I'm trying to just create content, outside of interviews and stuff for my channel, so I get that all absolutely for sure. Again, so information on social media is listed in this description of this video. Adam, thank you just so much for taking some time to talk about comics with me and just your love of comics and creating comics. So
thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed the channel too. I have subbed to your channel, I do believe, and I'm like, man, I gotta reach out to these guys because they know their shit compared to speaking of the book title. So yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. And again, gang, if you want a Gargoyle special episode, you got to leave these comments. You got to let us know that that's what the people want, and Adam and I can make that happen.
Yes, absolutely. We might have to do a rewatch podcast, man. 1 episode per episode. Who knows? We'll see.
Gang, I'm just saying, if you want it, let us know. With that being said, hopefully you can find some time to curl up, grab a book, and nerd out. Peace.